committee meeting.
Can you hear that?
Going to call to order the Katuitt Fire District.
I'm switching speakers.
How come we didn't turn right?
Oh, that could work. Okay, you should be connected to the owl now.
I said it's not.
And
Right?
going to call to order the Katuitt Fire District Prudential Committee meeting of April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Freedom Hall. Do a roll call. Charlie?
Charlie Eager, present.
Ray?
Ray Paul, present.
Seth?
Seth Burdick present.
Fran Parks present.
Mark Lynch present.
Oh. For the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments?
Yes, I would just like to, while we're on the national, sorry, House of Representatives, who are bipartisan support of friends and friends, which is really important.
Seeing none, closing public comment. The minutes from December. December 6th. Mark, did you review those?
I did. I had no comments.
I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of December 6th from 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Water commissioners.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We did have one amendment. You want me to read all the articles now?
Can you sit in the,
I didn't think so.
can you get closer?
Mr.
Sorry.
Chair.
I think you just have one amendment under Article 9. And we submitted three copies here. And it was on that one, I think you did. I'll figure it needs to be changed. I'll read that part in. These numbers don't add up. $45,000 service connections figures. The sense of other departments added another 152 PPQ expense. RP indicates final million expenses per year. 16,875. That's one is 175, not 165. 25 is used for appropriation. Excellent.
So 416,825 is correct. Okay, good.
Totally, 890,195.
Okay,
And I have one other amendment, Article 12, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or borrow and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate. Before section 3153, we held jointly. Rest of the last water commission meeting.
I'm having difficulty hearing. I don't know if others are as well. You seem to be breaking up.
Humble.
That's true.
I'm a professor at Harvard and Tufts. I'm embarrassed. Sorry about that, Fran, for mumbling. So let me read both articles back in, just to make sure. I'm gonna go back to the previous. I'm sorry, sir. Let me go back. Article 9, can you hear me okay, sir? These numbers don't add up. Let me stop and see if you can hear me okay.
Mark,
Mark, is it Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, can you hear me okay? Give us a little closer.
Technical issue rather than your
Mumbling. Thank you for that clarification. I won't take the mumbling personally.
you're not the only one.
We don't fumble.
This looks like it's on the table, like.
Thank you for clarifying. That's,
We always have some song.
Can you hear us, Mark?
I can hear you. Mark's on mute.
Okay, then Mark has technical problems.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
If everyone would just please speak into the speakers, that would be great.
I'll get it. I'm about 12 inches away. I'm gonna go to 6 inches. How's that? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay, great. You want me to read both articles, Mark? Did you get 9 or should I go over that again?
9 is the, no, I got 9.
Okay, wonderful. So you want me to go over 12 again? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. Article 12, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or borrow, appropriate and or transfer appropriate from available funds, $50,000 to acquire a conservation restriction pursuant to Mass General Law 184, Section 3133, to be held jointly with the town of Barnstable.
On that one, should that give the,
So
address?
I have a question about that one. So as I understand it, the Barnstable Land Trust has already purchased this property, and they're going to give a conservation restriction to the town of Barnstable. So we're basically covered here. This looks kind of like a donation to the Barnstable Land Trust to me, which, you know, we can donate to the library. We can't donate to the Historical Society. What, not that I have nothing but good things to say about the Barnstable Land Trust, but what do we think?
Well, let me start, and I'll turn it over to our representative from the trust here. We did discuss at the Water Commissioners meeting, Mark, and this parcel is within our Zone 2 area. You may recall there was a Chapter 40B project proposed on this parcel, which we were very concerned about. More development proposals may come in the future. We feel that part of our job is protecting the land in our water supply area, so we thought that it made sense to have at least a somewhat of a minor, I guess I would say, cost share in system purchase. So we felt that it was a legitimate purchase on the behalf of the district, but I'm going to let the
Yeah, so just for a little more context, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Just for a little context, so for the record, my name is Kelly Grant. I'm a land protection specialist, working with the Compact Effect for Conservation Trust and looking with the Barnstable Land Trust in this project. So the context of this project is that Barnstable Land Trust has the property under agreement with the current owner for, I believe the total is around $600,000. And that agreement will be contingent on them being able to raise the funding. So they haven't acquired the property, they just have it under agreement at this time. So they're looking at applying for a conservation partnership grant for half of the project cost, $300,000, that's a state grant. They did apply to the CPC, the meeting was this evening, and Janet Milton just confirmed in the text that they unanimously supported moving forward with the full application for $250,000 in support of the conservation restriction. So Barnstable Land Trust are just trying to come up with the additional sources of funding so that we can reach that $600,000 total that's required to go through with the acquisition.
And Mark, I would just add, I think you used the term donation. I would suggest
Say it again. I'm sorry. I got donation and then you cut out.
yeah, so I would just, I think you used the term donation to characterize what this article is about, and I would suggest that it's more of an investment rather than a donation. Because our job is to protect the water supply, and investing in land is clearly a very cost-effective payoff. But would not be a donation.
But the deal has already been signed, correct?
There's a signed offer between Barnstable Land Trust and the property owner. There is no purchase and sales agreement in place yet, and that purchase and sales agreement will be contingent on being able to raise the funding.
Okay, and how did we come up with the $50,000 number for the Katuitt Fire District?
I believe, as far as I'm aware of, it's kind of the gap in the funding that was.
Janet Milkman, executive. The water commission has felt that that was a reasonable investment.
Look, Mark, that's
listed, the conservation with our interest would be listed on the title.
And so the conservation restriction, I believe, is being jointly held by the town of Barnstable and the fire district through the border borders. So you would be holding an interest in the
So we're
property.
getting something for takes it out of donation. And then we'll put actual transaction.
Mark, we've done this before with the Lowell property that abuts. We donated $250,000 to for the acquisition of that property, which is also a zone 2, and that's also to protect the well field.
Yes.
Wouldn't we want the address on this warrant?
You, the warrant is the one that's coming up. The motion that is made is what is gonna transpire. But in that, I think you have to have the address if you don't have it in the warrant.
It'd be good to have it in the warrant for the
That was my
record
question.
where people look at it.
I think it would be helpful, I can read the addressing as an amendment to the, I propose an amendment to the article to add the address.
No, we don't have to do that.
Oh.
We're just going through this and clearing it up and making sure that the end product tonight is what we want. So you don't need to make an amendment.
You don't really-
I do need the address, though.
4609.
Responding to this gentleman.
Oh, I don't have that letter, thanks. Thank you, thanks.
Yeah.
Mention the address and put it on it.
Okay, in response to the request, I will mention the address, which is not an amendment, just to mention, 4609 Falmouth Road, Katuitt. No?
Across from the Baker House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to?
23?
Yeah.
With your permission, and thank you, Madam Chair, we'd like to address Article 23 if possible. And this is entitled an undrafted Water Department article requesting change in the enabling legislation. In fact, it has been drafted and we have a copy into the record. And I'll just, before I read it, I'll just mention, we discussed our last legislative change was 1935 to run. So we've been trying to develop a source water protection program to protect our water supply and minimize contamination, which we get. Legislation is drafted to help us do our job and review, and I'll read it into the record. This was drafted by our council, who we met with several. Mark, thank you. So I'll just quote the article. To do all things necessary to petition the Massachusetts Great and General Court to enact a change in the enabling legislation of the Pursuit Fire District and the establishment of the Pursuit Water Commission under Chapter 244 of the Special Acts of Massachusetts 1935. Substantially as follows: the Water Commission of the Pursuit Fire District shall have the authority to fund improvements on private property with written approval of property to protect and enhance the quality of the water supply for the benefit of the residents. Commissioners have already unanimously voted this, and my understanding, we have the right to get it on the warrant, but we thought it would be great to have the Prudential Committee in support of protecting our water supply and this legislation.
What is actually proposed to give? Now, there's a trade that I want to check. How many people are within the scope of the envision giving aid to?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's one check. I would disagree with that. I think this enables us, as it says, to work with homeowners.
There's no monetary value.
There's no monetary value, hence no blank check. So let's just amend that. So to answer your first question, the intent here would be that, or the background, the basis of the intent was that we believe that some sources of contamination come from private land as opposed to namely septic systems. It's pretty well documented. I can give you plenty of references: Cape Cod Commission, Mass DEP, US Geological. Water supplies, septic systems.
Not PFS,
Virtually all of them are in private land.
but not PFAS.
PFAS, possible, very possible. PFAS comes from a number of household sources. In fact, I was speaking with the chief earlier tonight. The only known sources we have here in Cape Cod are firefighting foams, which I don't think has been an issue here, but we're going to work together and document that. And household waste. There are, and I know this is amazing, this is pretty current information: shampoos, toilet paper, household cleaners. The good news is there are choices. There are some products that don't have PFAS. Factories didn't know about this when they made this, obviously, but now we know. So the good news is we can make choices if we want to do that.
Well, let's go back to the objective of this
Yes.
would be to give money to specific individuals. How many? How many? In other words,
Yes.
you have wells and you don't.
Yes.
go around them.
Yes.
Have
Yes.
you quantified them?
We have. So there are. I should go get the maps, but I won't take the time. If you want the number, I'll give you the number, but I think it probably a narrative description would be helpful. The number's around 100. But I think it'd be helpful to provide some background. So the zone 2 area is a much bigger protection area, which is actually on the order of several hundred. We've invested some work with a consultant who's done some pretty specific modeling on our well fields. So we have a better, frankly, than any water department in Cape Cod, I believe. where exactly our water comes from. So therefore, instead of targeting several hundred, maybe 1,000 homes, we know that it comes from the north. Water. So it's on the order of about 100 homes to our main well field. The one well which we have PFAS in, elevated concentrations around 40 to 50. It's likely the contributors. Yeah, the septic system.
Well, what would be the donation per house?
Well, again, this is getting way ahead of us. All we're asking for here is authority to talk to homeowners about trying to do things to prevent this. So I don't know the number. I can tell you the range of costs for these septic system upgrades. There's a number of septic system and septic alternative septic systems, what they're referred to by the state of Massachusetts. Any of these contaminants of emerging concern. Cost ranges from $25,000 to about $50,000 per household, depending on the specifics of the lot. Two studies that have been done looking at the actual cost. Shooting Pond, the other one is in Falmouth. That have been part of those two studies looking at the cost of these upgrades, and the average cost is in the range that I mentioned, 25 to 50.
Would it be, so is it monetary support for improvements made? Or is it work that would be contracted to be done on private property through the fire district? Or, I know, and I realize, as you said, it's early for this, but I wouldn't go and try to change legislation prior to having a concrete plan about how it's gonna, what the shape of it is gonna be. Or is there going to be a water rate credit? Is it a tax credit? And what would be the proposed level of increase that would per annum that would attend this program? Do you know what I'm saying? I personally wouldn't think that the right thing to do, or I don't know if it would be clear to people when we bring this to the district meeting. It does look like a blank check, really, because you don't have any kind of framework in which to put it. Do you know what I mean? If we said, okay, well, we have a plan, and it will be the following thing, because like if obviously if the fire district were to do contract work on private property, that's going to be significantly more expensive than anything that we think. And if we're giving money to people, what is the mechanism and apparatus for them checking on, maintaining, seeing, who's does Kristen go out and be like, that looks like a great IA system you got there. Do you know what I mean? Like all of those questions, and then or does it take the form of a tax credit or a water rate credit or some kind of annual, it can become an annuity type scenario. Well, like all those things are things that I would like to know before.
All of those things would fit, I think, into this legislation. So regardless of what the ultimate financing mechanism might.
Right.
I just
think, for my end, for me personally, and for I think the people, we're going to be sitting in the room voting. They might have similar questions, and they might say, well, this seems premature at this point because we don't know what this is going to look like. Because in a climate of escalating because of things like you look at your capital improvement budget, it's only a couple of years until the $20 million. And the impact on the tax rate is going to be pretty significant. And then you have the fire and all that stuff, and they're very similar numbers. And then we're not bound by Proposition 2.5. So how high will the taxes get?
One option is to wait. Some people call that kicking the can down the road.
Well,
Okay.
a treatment.
And we do have a time. The regulatory change now for.
Right.
One option is we wait. We look into this. We don't do this. We simply build the treatment plant.
Right.
And transfer that. This program would cost around $1 or $2 million if it's successful. Okay. So we have limited time to respond to this.
Right.
One way is to be progressive, start looking into this, talking to homeowners. I'm sorry?
It would be $1 million. That's what you're.
$1 to $2 million to replace these septic systems.
Right. If we had a thing, you have a number.
We have.
Right. Do you see what this is again, just me and my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Why not just build the treatment plant now? It's inevitable. If you spend $1 million.
If you don't mind spending $10 million, I think that's a great idea.
For me personally, it always comes down, I'm always wary of things that change the legislation. And that may be maybe, whatever, to say, oh, well, no, it should always be the same way.
Well,
But I just think it should be, I would like to, personally, for me.
Yeah.
I think people will see that and know that, what exactly is the. We're
you know,
gonna,
leg- my understanding of the way legislation works as opposed to regulations and then funding programs is legislation is general,
right, exactly,
Okay.
but I mean, in order to
a
get.
goal, then act with specific programs. That's the way I understand it works.
Right.
So all we're asking for here is, do we have the authority to ask the question, to talk with homeowners about potentially less expensive solutions?
I don't think.
That would be, I'm sorry, Nathan?
Yeah.
I think it's more appropriate to have a blanket legislation so that we can begin the discussion. This in no way commits the district to any costs. We have to come back, this is where, I'm sorry, we need to be. Check, it's blank check, I know what blank check is, you sign the check, I fill out the dollars. This is not a blank check
No,
at all. It's been used twice and I disagree with it both times. There's no financial ask here. This is simply legislation to be able to talk with private landowners to discuss potential offers, which might save us a bunch of money. This is fiscally conservative, potential. Just opens the door. We're not asking for any money. This, in my view, this enables to come back with a detailed plan and ask for money. We spent 2 years working on this already. And the water commission meetings, we'll read the minutes, it's a lot of time on this. We do have costs. There's specific plans. We've invested modeling. This is not a new idea. So we invested 2 years in this. We have 5 years to resolve this before the regulations go in play. I personally disagree with throwing in the towel and spending dollars now. I think it's lots of money. And I'd like us to have the chance to do that. We have to come back to ask for the. This is not an appropriation. We're not asking for any money here. This is simply legislative approach to look at, frankly, ideas that have come about since 1935.
So. You don't need a legislation, a change in the enabling legislation to go and talk to people. You can go talk to these people right now. You could have been doing it for the last 2 years. So and I think it's too broad. And when you look at changing the enabling legislation, you need to not just look at what we're doing today,
Yeah.
but what somebody's going to do with this 20 years down the road.
Well, Madam Chair, with all due respect, we exactly were doing that when you brought up at one of our meetings. Sue this until we looked into the legislative change.
That was my suggestion, but I'm telling you.
You said to stop doing this until you get legislation.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, essentially, you suggested that we not pursue.
I suggested that you would look into
And we did,
speaking to
and we
Mr.
did.
Boudreau. That if the only reason you want to do this is so that you can go and talk to people, it's unnecessary.
That's not the only.
But this is just too, in my opinion, this is just too broad. I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote for something that just, is carte blanche. And that's what this looks like, carte blanche.
Okay, well, we'll see what the residents think. Because I believe that article, some people has it kicking the can down the road. And I believe that we don't have enough time to do that.
Scott, couple of questions if I could.
What?
I listened to your April 16th presentation. Thank you for that. I thought it was very helpful. And you proposed some language in that meeting that has since been amended. You included language and the establishment of the Katuitt Water Commission. What are you contemplating, a new entity?
This language, I believe, comes from Mark Boudreau, so I would have if you have a proposed amendment to that, Mark, we'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't come from him, although it was approved by him. I keep looking up chapter 244 of the Special Acts of Massachusetts, and all I find is that it's foreclosure. So I'm not sure that that citation is correct.
I agree.
At a minimum, I would want to see the language, the establishment of the Katuitt Water Commission under chapter 244 of the Special Acts of Massachusetts struck, because that sounds like we're trying to establish another legal entity, which is confusing to me. Let me ask you this, do other water departments in Massachusetts have the right to do this, and it's only our enabling legislation that prevents you from doing this, or would we be the first people in the state of Massachusetts who could do this?
Well, let me go back to the first section. So the first one is this language I have before me was given to me tonight. So I can't be certain that this is what Mark wrote, we do have language from Mark Boudreau that he suggested. So it may be that this is not his language. Language, so I will make sure. And sorry. Because there may be a mistake in what's printed here, Mark. That's the first question. Let's get it right. I think you're absolutely right. No, let's get it right.
Here's was, I would propose the following language: to do all things necessary to petition the Massachusetts legislature to enact a change to the enabling legislation of the Katuitt Fire District substantially as follows. The Water Department of the Katuitt Fire District shall have the authority to fund improvements and then with the full approval of the property owner to protect the water supply and quality for the benefits of the residents of Katuitt, to which Mark Robinson proposed an amendment which added the great and general court, and the establishment of the Katuitt Water Commission under that chapter 44, to which Mark Boudreau responded and said the revisions look good. So we will double check in the enabling legislation just to make sure chapter 244 is correct, but both Mark Robinson and Mark Boudreau signed up.
So Mark, we'll get you, sounds like there's a typo in what we had before us tonight, but Mark Boudreau's language, I'll defer to him, and I'll assume to get it right. If he didn't, then he can.
So you are looking to establish the Katuitt Water Commission?
No,
That's
I believe what Jen just read was different than that.
I think what Mark Robinson was saying is that the Water Commission was established under that same enabling. Okay.
We'll practice with Mark Boudreau, but our intention is to go with Mark Boudreau's language, and this might be a typo, so my apologies for that. And Mark, now I forgot your second question, could you repeat it, please?
Who else has done it? Mark was asking.
Oh, who else has done it? I have not reviewed other water district legislation. I do know water departments, water districts do in fact work with private landowners on these types of solutions. I can give you examples of that. But I have not done a thorough review of water districts, water departments in Massachusetts, so I can't answer your question.
Yeah, because my thought is that that if you do want to do this, and I do think that there may be some benefits to it, I don't think that changing the enabling legislation is going to get you where you want to be, because as I say, either all water districts can do this in the state of Massachusetts, or there's something about our enabling legislation that precludes just us. But if we change our enabling legislation to do this, it sounds like we would be the only water district in Massachusetts that could do this, which seems like a broader issue to be addressed by all water departments rather than us. I do kind of think that it might be a good idea. I really don't think this is the way to go about it. I would have to agree with Seth and Fran. And I am really troubled by this and the establishment of the Katuitt Water Commission, whatever that means, whatever that entity is. And I don't know why that was added to what otherwise would not have been particularly, offensive proposal to me, but I'm really troubled by that.
Yeah, and I don't honestly recall any discussion about creating a new entity, so So, if in fact, Mr. Boudreau drafted that, this is the first time I've thought about it, because there was never any intent or discussion among the water commissioners to create a new entity. That was not our intent. It was simply to be able to work with private landowners on highly probable sources of contamination to see if we could work cooperatively with them to solve the problem. That was the intent. Which I still think is an important initiative for our district. I hear your opposition to us doing this work and for this legislation.
Enabling legislation, and it is chapter 244. An act authorizing the Katuitt Fire District to supply itself and its inhabitants with water for the extinguishment of fires and for domestic use. And that's where the Board of Water Commissioners is.
Mark, you will hear this okay? I know we've been having trouble here.
I'm hearing this conversation pretty well. Thanks for leaning in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking at agendas produced to acts of 1935 chapter 2.
Is that the enabling legislation?
That's what it looks like, but acts of 1935 and chapter 244, an act establish can't read, hold on. The Katuitt District to supply itself and inhabitants with water.
Okay.
Fire and domestic use, yes.
All right, thank you. That gives me some comfort. It gives me substantially more comfort. I think I still agree with Seth and Fran on the overall suitability of this to achieve your end, which might be a reasonable end. I just don't know that this fixes the problem. So I would vote no.
I just want to point out the fire district was established in 1928. And then this is an addition.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the water district was in 35 when the WPA put in the pipes.
It looks like the citation is correct, and I fully understand your opposition to what we're proposing, and we believe what we need to do for our job. So thank you for being clear about that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do I add it as worded to this warrant? Are you approving it or disapproving it?
Well, no,
They are retracting it?
they aren't retracting it. It's gonna go on.
So
the
it goes on the warrant as Article 23 as they've provided here, including the Water Commission language?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Ray? Treasurer's report, very quickly, target, the end of March, 3/4 is 75% of the budget.
We can't hear Ray.
Hold on.
Hello,
Yeah, we can hear you.
okay. March represents 3/4 of the year, so our budget target for evaluating our performance is 75%. Our revenue selections stand at 84%. And our expenditures at 71%. So we have exceeded the target year to date by close to $400,000. And we have underspent the budget, including some one-time annual expenditures of a significant nature, such as insurance, retirement contribution. We've underspent the budget by 71% versus 75%. Looking at the individual items, I don't see anything on the expenditure side that is of concern. I think that the only thing I would note is that tax stand at exactly 75% because of the lien activity. So we're just tax collections, but ahead of the budgets that we set in all of the cash. In terms of cash, we have invested idle cash in T-bills and CDs. So we're positioned well to continue earning interest that we have here today. That's about all I have. Are there any questions?
No.
No, thank you, Ray.
Wanted to briefly address this special district meeting on May 4th. Lisa has done up the card and to the printers.
Yes,
Thank you. And Mark, have you coordinated with the man from that's going to do our reporting for us? Make sure. that
Yes,
he's gonna
I've
bring-
spoken with him. He's coordinated with, or is coordinating right now with the Katuitt Federated Church. I'll check again just to make sure that everything's going smoothly, but yeah, they're working to make sure we have everything we need.
Okay, because we're gonna need 5 microphones.
Okay,
Same setup that we had at the ballpark.
I'm sorry, say that again, set up.
The same setup that we had when we used the ballpark from the annual district meeting.
Okay. And the 5 microphones are for audience members or for,
You need a microphone for the Prudential Committee, a microphone for the moderator, and you need for the audience to get up and speak.
okay. And
We can't just rely on their sound system picking up, whatever is being discussed in the room. Because.
Yeah. I was assuming that people would come to the front to speak into one microphone rather than spreading it around, but I get your point. We'll make sure that everyone who speaks has a microphone.
Great, thank you.
And someone needs to come and check people in to make sure they're voters and hand out the cards. Is that something that you will take care of?
Let's try.
It's moderator.
Oh, the moderator.
So the moderator is doing that?
They get volunteers to go over the list and make sure that the people wanting to vote are registered voters in the town of Barnstable. And then they
Okay.
get voting cards.
And Charlie, if you would just check in with the moderator and make sure that's happening, we would appreciate that.
I will talk to the moderator.
and Charlie, you asked me to print out the voter list that then is used to check people in.
The voter list won't be ready until the 24th. 10 days prior to the,
Okay, but I'm just saying that's the process, Mark.
yeah. I will ask. If you.
Okay.
So.
Before you move on, the fire department didn't get to present their revised wording.
Sorry. You should put your hands up.
There we
We are here at your pleasure, so if there's some questions you have based on the update you made, we are more than happy to wait.
I don't think everybody's gotten to the update. So why don't you come up and present now?
Okay. Evening all. Hello. I think I'll project, I'll be good. You will. I'll just keep it up there. Thank you. So I think what we're primarily, Kevin Conley, Chairman of the Fire Commissioners, I think primarily what we're referring to is a warrant that we have dated, that's been put in for a warrant number 8, I believe it is, to appropriate 1.3 million. I have a warrant in front of me.
What is it?
Appropriate funds, general fund, borrow, and for the design phase, including related testing for design of the new fire station, very justified. So there's a lot of pieces that have to be, completed as we go down this road for a new station. We have, some timeline work that's been accomplished, we have some draft of what the pricing or what the cost will be. And we feel that 1.3 will get us to where we will be in a good position for the following district meeting, the 26th district meeting, to make a recommendation on what we'd like to, how we'd like to go forward for a building plan. So bottom line, the output for what we're requesting is the actual designs, construction design documents, as well as approvals with the town, will allow us to move forward. Now, we're working under the assumption still that we'll be able to merge the 2 lots. We don't have confirmation of that. We're working on that now, but that's the assumption we're making.
And do we have an estimate of the final cost of this building, or is it too soon?
Well, we're hoping to have that over the next, we're hoping to have that frankly prior to the district meeting.
Okay.
So we have another meeting tomorrow with our architects. We may have some more information.
Article X is the transfer of the
Right.
title for the brush breaker to the Joint Base Cape Cod.
Yeah.
It will be renumbered.
Okay, yeah. And is there any other changes to the fire budget?
No, I think we've got all the changes one, and I think we got, more information to put in the article to break it. And then, the chief reminded me that late today, I just didn't have time to go all the way. Okay.
But it's in there now, Ray. I added it. So it's currently numbered Article X on the 3rd version that we sent out today. It's between 8 and 9.
I have a general question about. this thing. So 1.3 million for the design phase, what's the timeline of that design phase roughly? I mean, you may not have.
We're looking to have the design phase done prior to next, I'll give you the timeline right there. With numbers to go along with it for each phase. These have to be cleaned up a little bit, but we will be posting these.
We just got these today around 4 o'clock, so. Right. Gotta get them up on the website.
Right. And we have to do some math with them, frankly, to make it a little more presentable, but they will be up.
Kevin, I'm having a little trouble with the sound, but so you may have said this already. Forgive me if I'm repeating. Does this design phase include a decision as to where such a new facility would be on High Street or somewhere else? Or are
Right
we
now-
not there yet?
Right, Mark, right now, we're working under the assumption that we'll be on High Street at our current location, merging the 2 lots. Again, we do not have approval for that at this point, but that's the assumption we're working on. That answer your question?
It does, thank you.
So presuming that this were to pass, obviously, any subsequent, once you get into the RFC process and so this will carry us all the way, so this $1.3 million will carry us all the way through to phase 5.
To the bidding process, exactly.
And so prior to phase 5, we'll have a number, so then you'll bring that number back.
Yeah.
So if, say this passes, the 1.3 million, and then we get to stage 5, which will be, if this is, I realize, speculative, but we speculate that in July 2025, you break ground. So we would have to imagine that that public bid process will commence sometime in the tail end of fiscal year 24 or fiscal year 25 or calendar year 24.
25, 24. Right.
Yeah, so it would be, we'd be looking, so if you're gonna break ground in July of this coming of 20, so roughly a year and a couple of months from now.
Right, no, that's, right, that's, right. 25.
July 25 to September 26 would be the construction phase. I'm just curious. So if this does get approved and then we come up with a number, 25 million or whatever, 10, 5, whatever. And then people say, hell no, I mean, no, it's a no-go. And we've already got this study. What is the lifetime of that study? Do you know what I mean? If that, we've gone through all the way to stage 5 and we've got the plans, we've got the lot merged, we've got everything all squared away on that. We'll be able to then use that. If they reject that bid, how we'll be able to use that plan for a number of years in the future and go back and ask and go back and ask or come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what would this, I know what this will buy. But what's the lifespan and usefulness of this?
So
So
what,
when we get to the point where,
so I'm not totally sure how I can answer that.
I know, but it's kind of a weird.
Right, we'll have, no, it's all right, it's a valid question, no bad question. We'll have, when we go back to district meeting in 2025,
Right,
go back to district meeting in 25, fiscal 26.
right,
We'll have plans, we'll have a well locked down price point,
right,
right, better than we're going to have this time around, frankly, because we'll be further down the road. So we'll have everything we need, and we'll have a design where we can build a particular station theoretically at that site, those
Right.
2 lots, and we'll have that for as long as we'll have it. So,
right. So I mean, I just, my thought is that I just wondered what the sticker shock, the level of, and granted, this is beside, right, the point, just my own
Sure.
using.
One of the things, that's why we're planning on releasing some numbers.
Right.
That we're working towards for this district meeting.
Right.
To not only come forth and say, this is what we're looking for.
Right,
Somebody's gonna ask that question.
absolutely.
And I intend to have that number.
Yeah.
Now, that's a number that'll be based on today's numbers. We have some stats relative to, you know, what other stations have cost in years, square footage, that type of stuff, matching us close as we can to ourselves. So, you know, we could take a gauge from that, but we're trying to get a little bit more definitive in our estimate.
Just give it a shot. I mean,
Yeah. I think what we may end up happening may be a Hyannis redo. When the Hyannis Fire Department, was going through the planning process of building their department. I think the original cost was 19 million. And there was a lot of pushback and they went through like several district meetings until they finally got to, you know, a acceptable price by the public. So,
I mean, what's the level of, and I didn't read this, I should have, I probably could have looked it up. Whatever, but
These documents have just come off,
Right,
press
just
4 hours.
so informal meeting with town department, site plan process. Historic commission, board of health, zoning. So then, at what point is the village? Where's the village workshop aspect of this?
I don't understand the question.
So, I mean, I realize we have, these are all of our formal steps where we have to pass through site plan, so on and so on, and we've got existing systems, so on. But like the village workshop aspect of it, where you have everybody come down and say, okay, so this is, we've got our little model and we've got our thing and these consultants and, you know what I mean? How's that?
So we're working on that plan now, right? Again, tomorrow we expect to have plans that will show us what the outside of the building will look like. We're working on that to try to maintain, you know, the look of what the fire department is now, but blend into where it is. To your point, Fran, as an aside, we're being very conservative in what we do, right? We're very conservative financially by nature, so we're not looking to build the Taj Mahal by any means. We're looking to build what the state, what the community needs and what the firefighters needs, without going overboard. So it'll be a good station that'll be functional for some period of time with not a lot of bells and whistles. That being said, also, once we have those designs, we intend to invite the neighbors specifically first It'll be the neighbors to the department, have some time with them so that they can see what's going on and what we're planning on doing. And then planning on also doing some maybe coffee breaks at the firehouse on Saturdays, where people can come in, take a look at the plans, get an idea of what we're trying to do, and get their opinion on how to roll it out. Right? You know, okay, for.
Yeah, that kind of.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
just public outreach,
Yeah.
because I think, and again, it's an aside, it doesn't really have much to do with what you're talking about right now.
No, that's a critical part of
But
what
that
we're
is,
doing.
well, if it's, I think if you're gonna sell it to anyone, it's gotta be, you know, really hands-on when it comes to a meeting after meeting. Because all see, we've been through all the different meetings and the talk about this, but most everybody has it. I just, you know, that's just
Absolutely.
my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Nope, we intend to, you hold on, tell us, we intend to leverage the Civic Association as appropriate, and we're gonna get the message out there.
Yeah, get everybody in there talking about it as much as possible. But anyway, that,
Point for faith in, and it's definitely absolutely on.
that's good news.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Freedom Hall.
Further.
Here it is, yeah. Years ago, two, 3 years ago, I purchased bunting for Freedom Hall. And the last time it was used was not last year, the year before. And it was damp when it came, you know, when the firefighters took it down. So, no. So it was brought into Freedom Hall to dry. So I'd like to buy some new bunting.
Mark couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
You just got out for a minute, Fran.
Okay.
I heard the bunting was brought inside wet.
The bunting was bought inside wet and while it was drying or after the dry, it was. They took it.
What was it?
Red, white, and blue bunting.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just curious, what do I do? Keep my eye out. for it.
So, it will be about $200 to just go on the front of the building and look like the rest of the village for the 4th of July. So I'd like to be authorized to do that.
Sounds good to me. I move.
Sounds
For $200.
Aye.
Is there a second?
I can second my.
I second it.
Or you second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So what we need to do is read through the warrant.
The annual district meeting warrant?
Yes.
Oh,
We have to read all the articles in. Correct, Carol? We have to read all the articles into the record.
It's probably best.
Okay. Start till my voice gives out. Anybody? Article 1, to see if the district will vote to accept the reports of the officers and committees of the district. Prudential Committee recommends this article. Article 2.
I'd be more than allowed to have a discussion on whether we want to use the traditional or the summary form.
Oh, okay.
I would very much like to use the traditional.
I'm gonna use this. That's better for the departments if you know, if they go over and the water department goes over in one purchase of pipes, say, and there's another part of the budget that they, you know, didn't use as much as they expected, they'll be able to put that towards the pipes. If you make it so specific, then you can't cover expenses, that are in the same category, you can't move money around. So,
I think you can use money in the same general category. But this only happened once with the fire department, and they came to us and said, we need a little more money, and we said, of course, that's fine. I just think it gives a little financial discipline to, the forecasting. It's required for the budgeting, so I don't know why we wouldn't continue to keep it as it has been for years, in the warrants.
well, it's actually almost yearly, we have to have a meeting to cover an overage in some department, either the fire department, or, the finance department, or it's a common event that we have to go to that's why we have the reserve fund. And is to cover those things. So
That, we meet monthly. I think having the discipline is probably a good thing. We've been doing it for years. Certainly don't see a good reason to stop.
I have to do the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Mark that we should have just, having to actually word and budget based on what they, where they're going to put money.
So,
Is this written?
Great, Mayor, could I just mention as the superintendent, this new verbiage that we have that Ray's proposed, we do get a lot of emergencies with our compensations. And I try to go what I have with regular maintenance that we have out there and put a little bit extra in case something small happens. Nothing small happens anymore. I got a transfer switch I have to change, which would have been $3,000 5 years ago, is now $8,000. So the little things, so for me to do this, I might have to increase my budget up to take any of these emergencies eventually. It just helps us so that we don't have to come to you and say, I have some money left down here in legal and engineering. Can I just let that absorb my stations up here so you guys don't have to go and vote out of the other fund to bring me and turn back again at the end of the year and everything else.
What do you think, Ray?
so,
Once that's in the article, you have to go back to the district to move it.
no, if for these that say,
And resolve an overage in one of the subcategories as to the use of the reserve fund.
that's right, correct, that's the problem. If Article 5 is for the fire department, appropriate $2,309,735 for the labor and salaries of the fire department, and $395,654,000 for the remaining expenses of the fire department for a total appropriation of X. So it's other for the remaining expenses, and in that category, can move money around inside of that. You can move money, and that's the whole point.
But so then, these articles are all written in the summary method, and then.
Yes.
Rewrite these?
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, there's a version,
There is a separate version?
there's a separate version.
So you utilize the treasurer, you favor doing the summary version?
Yes. I'm in favor of the summary between salaries and operating.
And do firemen are in favor of doing the summary or the traditional, because we invested in branding.
Personally, I'm with the superintendent that the summary makes the most sense. One major issue with the fire apparatus and our maintenance budget is maxed out, but I might be able to understand an administrative category. And that is true with managing budget, because then I have to make hard choices. What am I not doing this to make the ends meet with the fire department? And that is truly it. This management, in my opinion, being a good steward of the taxpayer dollar.
All right, then, well, I'll take it back, because we can do the summary.
So I just You know, what I think we should do is hand out, you know, when they have a budget night, just hand out a separate piece of paper that shows the breakdown that everybody's used to. You know, only for, so,
The bylaws require us to present this detail, and it doesn't dictate that it be reflected in the article.
right,
So we'll still prepare the budget same way as we have done.
yeah. But I mean, so. I haven't got two, but
Can I just say, if you're going to read the articles, I didn't copy edit and really scrutinize the numbers in the detail one. I only did it for the summary one. So,
I know that would change one I didn't check, which is the salaries in the finance is sub figures off 10,000, total is correct.
okay,
We can change that.
but we have additional wording in all of these other ones in the summary that do not currently read in your detailed version. Anything red?
When I redid them, I did it word for word in each one.
Okay.
The only thing that the summary doesn't have is the Article X.
You mean the only thing the detail doesn't have? Plus the water department,
The
new
summary
things?
doesn't have Article
Yes, it
it
does.
does.
X. So you made all the changes.
Only in the summary, not in the others.
Summary is fine. Read the summary.
Let's do that.
You want to take on a vote on which one that we're going to use?
Yeah, that'd be good.
So, of the two versions of the warrant for the May 29th meeting, 2024, we have one with the traditional breakout of all the costs associated with each department. And we have one which I with just a summary of the expenses that are going to be taken on by the water department. I propose that we accept the summary version of the 2024 warrant for the Katuitt Fire District.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay. Okay. Start again since it's official. Article 1, to see if the district will vote to accept the reports of the officers and committees of the district as printed. Article 2, to see if the district will vote to set the annual salaries of elected officials as follows: Prudential community members, members of the Board of Fire Commissioners, and members of the Board of Water Commissioners, $1,250 each, and moderator $250. Article 3, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer and appropriate the sum of $45,000 to establish the reserve fund as provided under Section 5C, Chapter 40 of the general laws. Article 4, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate $122,315 for the labor and salaries of the district's finance department and $182,000 for the remaining expenses of the Prudential Committee for a total appropriation of $431,497. Article 5.
Quick question on Article 4. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ray, I always forget. What is the $309,182 for remaining expenses? What does that include?
That includes all the non-salary expenses of the fund.
Plus all the workers' comp insurance, plus all the payroll taxes, plus the payroll taxes.
Mark, in the budget,
Yeah, I tried to find it in the budget and I couldn't see it broken out. That's helpful, Lisa. Thank you.
that's the third tab. Scroll down, you'll see there's a total for all operating.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate Lisa calling it out.
Article 5, to see if the district will vote to raise an appropriate transfer an appropriate $2,309,735 for the labor and salaries of the district's fire department and $395,654 for the remaining expenses of the fire department, for a total appropriation of $2,705,389. The Prudential Committee, the Article 6, to see if the district will vote to raise an appropriate and or transfer an appropriate from available funds and or borrow an appropriate the sum of $800,000 for the additional funds to purchase and equip a new fire engine and sell or trade the 1994 fire engine. VIN number 4 PICT 02D 0RA 00728. Bless you. Article 7, to see if the district will vote to raise an appropriate or transfer an appropriate from available funds or borrow and appropriate the sum of $33,000 for the purchase of protective clothing for the firefighters. Article 8, to see if the district will vote to raise an appropriate and or transfer an appropriate from available funds or borrow and appropriate the sum of $1,300,000 for the defined design phase, including any related testing for the design of the new fire station by request of the Board of Fire Commissioners.
You want me to read some?
Yeah.
I shall be happy.
Start with X.
Article X. See if the district approves the transfer of title for the 2001 brush breaker VIN number 1HTSEAA R61H366080, the Joint Base Station Fire Department. Article 9, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate $473,370 for labor and salaries of the water department and $416,825 for the remaining expenses of the water department, for a total, the one was a typo here, of the water department, for a total appropriation of $890,195 by the request of the Board of Water Commissioners. Article 10, to see if the district will vote to raise.
Can I stop you there, Seth?
Yeah.
Because the draft here says the Prudential Committee does not recommend this article.
Yeah, I don't know why it says that.
I think it related to the salary issue.
Yes,
which-
Last year.
And I may have been the one to raise it. Basically, I don't have a problem with the proposed raises. I think they may be a trifle high, but my major concern was that the use of differing cost of living adjustments from year to year. So if we can get a commitment from the water department that they'll use the same cost of living adjustment from year to year, I have no objection to this warrant. I don't know if Chris is there.
I am here. I don't believe they heard your concerns and they took it under budget. I believe they said, we'll go with this from now on, but I'm not them. So I believe, and I'm not trying to sway your vote anyway. If you want to go one way and I can get back to you
No.
tomorrow on it. The hard part is I can't actually ask them to make a decision, as you know, without meeting. So what I heard before, when we were here that night, the same thing you guys did, where they kind of agreed, okay, we'll look into this going forward. We'll look into it we'll take that under advisement.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, I'm willing to withdraw objection, but Chris, do please emphasize to them that we think use of a COLA, I do at least, is a great idea. Just, it's got to be the same one year to year. So let us know what it is, or just do it again next year with the same one.
Okay. All right,
No, don't do it with the same one. The Congress didn't approve that COLA that Biden signed, that you guys are gonna get. Yeah, so just so you know.
So I don't know, if Dave was the one who came up with that.
All right, Article 10, To see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate funds and or borrow and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for new meter reading software and equipment by the request of the Board of Water Commissioners. Article 11. See if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds and to borrow and appropriate the sum of $8,500 for new departmental computers and related systems / security equipment by the request of the Board of Water Commissioners. Article 12, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or borrow and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds $50,000 to acquire a conservation restriction pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 184, subsection 31 through 33, to be held jointly with the town of Barnstable. Do we recommend this article? Are we recommending?
The
this
address is also added,
From the address, that's the address of,
4609 Falmouth Road in Katuitt.
as read.
This land is going to abut land already.
The zone 2, or that's already Barnstable interest.
It's already Barnstable land trust. So I think it's a good idea.
Article 13, to see if the district,
Seth, do you think it's a good idea too?
I mean, I don't know, I'm on the fence about it. It's something we've done in the past. I understand the intention of it. I'm worried that just, the only thing that concerns me about it is I feel that, and not you, Chris, but the water commissioners are kind of, they're moving in a direction towards, I don't want to say spendthrift, but it's a way like, that the role that they feel that they fill is going to take on a larger and larger percentage of the budget of the fire district if we continue to go into the various things. I understand it for water protection, but if they're going to get most of the money from the state and from the town, and then the town is going to have an ironclad conservation restriction on that property at any rate, it's more of a gesture and a gesture of support for the BLT, because it's going to happen regardless of whether we get the money or not.
But this is, the water department could have come to us with an article to buy that.
Right, which it would have been.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was actually a, I don't know, 40B or 30.
Yeah, I saw the plan.
32
I mean,
units. Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I'm not against it. That's what I think it's a fine idea. I just think that I just worry about the trend that we've done this in the past, I realize.
Once,
but
yeah.
the trend of, it's just, I worry about escalating spending that good is not just in the fire district, but is in the town, and it's going to affect us all, and it's going to get more drastic in the next 5 and 10 years. And
Definitely.
where are we going to end up with the tax rates? It'll be like Westchester County, and we'll be, anyway, that's well and truly beside the point, but I'm
Yeah,
fine.
I don't know how they come up with the number of 50,000. It could be 25, it could be 15, it could be 100. They just like a contribution. If we don't put this money in, it does not affect us, meaning the Katuitt Water Department one bit. The land is still protected and has a conservation restriction on it. So, I'm a little concerned that we even have the ability to do this. Having said that, am I happy that the Barnstable Land Trust bought this? I am, but I don't know, this smells like a donation to me, which I don't know that we're enabled to do.
I think the good part of this is that we're going to be part of that conservation
it'll
restriction.
be named, it'll be a.
So if somebody in the town of Barnstable decides someday they want to do something hinky with the property, they can't, because our name's on it.
She described it as a, this is what she needed to finish the project, was $50,000. She originally proposed more.
Yeah,
And
250.
she knocked it down to 50. She said, we believe we can get the funding through these other places. They don't have the funding right now.
Right.
So, I mean, this isn't really written in stone either. They can't get the funding, we don't give them the money.
I think the people of the village will support this, and so therefore I think it's fine to recommend. And then regardless of whether we recommend it or not recommend it, I don't think we'll have any trouble getting through the district meeting. So for those reasons, I'm fine with it. Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Article 13, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate $6,211 for the labor and salary and $21,180 for main expenses of the operation of Freedom Hall, for a total appropriation of $27,391. Article 14, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds the sum of $10,700 to maintain the streetlights of the district. Article 15, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds the sum of $26,780 to support the maintenance of the Katuitt Library. Article 16, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds and or borrow and appropriate the sum of $431,293 for payment of principal and interest. Article 17, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate from available funds and or borrow and appropriate the sum of $936,530 for the purpose of paying employee other post-employment benefits. Article, Mark, do you want to read some, or shall I just run the rest of them?
Yeah, I'll be happy to read some, but on Article 17, I see someone's version or red line says this still doesn't include the figure for adding the new optionees due to the BOWC proposal. I don't know what that means. I don't know whose notes those are.
The water department now has the option of if they choose, they can forego insurance and get a stipend.
Health insurance.
But the trade-off would be that they are currently getting insurance. And the option is at the lowest rate. So it should be a cost push or a cost advantage if someone dropped insurance and went to the option.
Excuse me, Ray, one employee has insurance through a family member.
If
So,
they don't have insurance with us, they're not eligible to do it.
well, the Board of Water Commissioners approved it happening, and the Prudential Committee still hasn't approved that.
You can't go in until the Prudential Committee would approve.
Okay. So the first number, I guess, is,
Until the Prudential changes it.
Well, is someone going to bring it for us, or how does that get resolved?
Well, I can't pay a bill, the Prudential can't approve a bill.
anyhow.
Man, what are you gonna do?
Thanks.
I think I'd prefer to have you guys vote. Fire department by union contract created the option for a person who has insurance with us to forego insurance and take a stipend in lieu of insurance cover. To be on the insurance plan right now. The water department has expanded that to say, even if you're not getting insurance, you can get the option. Stipend, excuse me.
My computer isn't
So it's really a
charging, so I'm gonna switch.
policy or procedure issue. Will this be expanded?
Yeah, see,
I
it
think
hasn't been charging at all.
The comment Lisa added that really highlights whether you know the rest is.
We're about to lose battery. Sorry, something's been going wrong. So, and
So. You might want to pause the recording if you can, switch off. Up to the chair.
Take a 5-minute break.
okay, I'm gonna pause this.